Dr. Uche back here to discuss another book. Today I'm talking about A Girl with a Louding Voice by Abi Dare. Not brand new, I think it's a few years old. It's a lovely book, The Girl with a Louding Voice. Abi Dare's debut novel, is my understanding. And I like to start by why should you read it? It's a coming of age book. You get to follow a young girl and her aspirations and her struggles and resilience and how she is able to, through thick and thin, stick to that which she wanted to achieve. You get to see the strength of human friendships, how human friendships can lift us out of very difficult circumstances. You get to follow a young girl as she makes progress with goals in life. You watch her, even her English change and her knowledge base grow over time. You're going to be captivated from page to page, chapter to chapter. I couldn't drop the book till I was done. So that's a reason I think you'd want to read it. And if you're not from the Nigerian West African background, you might get to see how some other people have to make it work in quite a different situation than you might be accustomed to. So those are some reasons I think you should read it. In a nutshell, would be the next thing to talk about this book in a nutshell. This is all about a young teenage girl, Aduni. I believe she's only 14 or 15 in the book. Unfortunately, she loses her mother very early at the beginning of the book that it's described in anyways. And she is daughter to a rather poor father, barely making it. She has two other brothers, one older, one younger. So when her mother dies, her father sees her as an opportunity to get some monetary gifts. So she pulls her out of school. He pulls her out of school and decides she's going to marry an old man. And she's going to become not even an only wife, she's going to become a third wife. So she had no say in the matter. She had no choice. It didn't matter what she thought. It just had to be that. So she goes off with this old man who is trying to make it work with two other wives and lots of children. You don't get the sense he's particularly wealthy at all, but he obviously has a little more than Aduni's dad. But you can see that he too is struggling with a lot of things, and it's hardly a wealthy situation. Fortunately for her, the second wife ends up being another lovely young woman, teenager like her, who embraces her like a big sister, takes care of her, nurtures her. And so Aduni finds a way to thrive. She finds a way to find some joy even in her predicament. Now, unfortunately, good things sometimes don't last. This second wife actually dies, heavily pregnant, in a very puzzling situation, quite frankly. Aduni was present and she had to escape the situation because the death could have been blamed on her. So she runs away. She connects with a woman who loved her mother, her late mother, who now helps her escape, finds this gentleman who is, obviously we learn after the fact that he's actually finding house girls for some affluent families in the big city in Lagos. And Aduni becomes the next one they find, and they put her in the home of this woman, this big madame, very affluent lady who we learn later actually also had very humble beginnings, but had obviously made it and was living in the city at the time with her husband, and who was not kind at all. This woman was thoroughly abusive. It's incredible. Aduni had to make it work. She was physically and verbally abusive. And I often had to hold my breath, and I feel like I was hoping Aduni would survive this woman, all her antics and everything she did, hitting the poor girl. But, she stayed her blunt, sharp self. She found the library. She started reading books, started improving her lot. And then she met another young woman in the community, Miss Tia, who became a very good friend to her. and started teaching her English and going through some exercises with her. Now, the cook in the home, Miss Big Madame's cook, a gentleman from Ghana, had obviously grown a liking to this young girl, Aduni, and was determined to help her improve her lot. And he found a scholarship program for her. So this became Aduni's task or project to work on applying for this scholarship program so she could go to school, finish up her high school. They throw in something interesting. A story about a Rebecca, a girl who was a house girl before Aduni came in the same household. And there becomes a story all about the quest to discover what happened to Rebecca. I'm not sure how it enriches the book. Probably just gives us something else to think about, to see another dimension of just how wicked this big madame and her husband were, is my guessing. Yet another push factor, another factor to make Aduni want to get out of that situation. Because this young girl, Rebecca, came to no good. Something unpleasant happened to her. Not very clear to me still. It wasn't very well elucidated in the book. It wasn't very well described what happened to Rebecca. I think they left the reader wondering, is my recollection. I could be wrong, but in any case, I didn't get through feeling like I knew what had happened to Rebecca. It was a lot of guesswork through most of the book. But that was yet another dimension in the book. In any case, at the very end, yes, Aduni does get the scholarship. And yes, she does get the help from Miss Tina to apply and then gets the scholarship. And Miss Tina, too, he's going through her own travails and so much going on and um, in her own family with her husband, problems with the mother in law. She, too, has quite a dilemma, quite a life hurdle and challenges that she was going through, not related to money, obviously, but other problems. So they bond together in their difficulties and start helping each other in different ways. I'd like to talk about what touched me about the book. I thought it was sad how Aduni's mom passed so early in her life. It was sad to realize how Aduni's mom ended up marrying Aduni's dad. Somebody she loved was felt to be not, or she was felt to be not good enough for the person because she wasn't educated. And this man showed up later. He'd come to visit from England. And that part of the story was sad. This is obviously why she was so pushed to make sure her daughter did better. And yet she died early. She wasn't able to see her daughter through. Despite being such a hard-working mother, she wasn't able to do that. And then after she passed, the husband forgot everything he promised he would do. So that was a little frustrating, a little irritating part of the novel. What else touched me? The strength of human friendships. That's really what lifted Aduni out of her predicament, ultimately. Her friendship with the chef or the cook in Big Madame's house, her friendship with Miss Tina, her friendship with the second wife of the man she married, Morufu, her friendships with this elderly lady who had loved her late mother, who helped her escape after the second wife died. And she was in a predicament. She was worried about mob justice, being caught and blamed for the death. This elderly lady helped her escape. Those aspects touched me, I'd say. It moved me. How did the book change me? I always like to think about that question. You really get to see how wicked people can be, to put it bluntly, because I miss Big Madame for all she went through, having humble beginnings. You would think she'd be more kind and compassionate, but she was so cruel to this young girl, and ultimately became clear that she had her own struggles as a person. She had her own sadness. It was not paradise with her husband, far from it. She was dealing with issues, and I think sad people, make other people sad. She was letting out her anger, her bitterness at this poor girl. Had no joy within her, obviously. It became clear. You started feeling a bit sorry for her towards the end of the book. Just a little bit. That was something noticeable. I think that's in a nutshell. What did you think about the book? Are you going to read it? I loved it. I couldn't put it down till I was done. Every book, every chapter, every page, everything was so enlightening, and just listening to Aduni's voice was so endearing. Watching her, hearing her figure things out, draw her own conclusions, improve even in her uh, use of the English language, make decisions, try to figure things out. Such a young girl, a teenage girl, just very, very endearing, very touching. I hope you'll be so kind as to drop a line, let me know what you thought about it. I hope you might consider reading it if you haven't. And I'll talk to you again soon. Cheers, Dr. Uche again. Take care.